everyone. How are you doing? Well, it is Wednesday, and trust you are fine. Everyone recovering from the YouTube outage, which gave a lot of people some hectic times. So again, I hope you have recovered. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Brad. How are you doing? Jama, how are you doing? Caroline, sweet Caroline. Anyway, it's a great song. Good to see everyone. Val, hello. So, all the conspiracy about why YouTube went down. Actually, I think they warned everyone on Friday that the switchover was going to begin to take place. I believe it started, I think, earlier this week, Monday, Tuesday. Anyway, remember the United States basically, looked over the internet, was its caretaker, so to speak. And due to the Obama administration, it's now transferred over to an international group. And I think what we saw yesterday is probably going to see other outages. And who knows, maybe we have probably seen the last of the reliable internet. But that's what I think happened. Check your YouTube settings. My live stream, for instance, was set on private. And if I hadn't caught this, I'd be talking to me, myself, and Irene at this point. So anyway, check it out. Make sure you're subscribed, and all your other favorite YouTube channels, make sure as well. So got that out of the way. Someone said there was something happening on the moon. There's always something happening on the moon. It's one of those objects where things are just always happening. Some days are just really good. I don't know about you, but I have been sleeping fabulous these last, I think, 3 or 4 nights. Wow, just sweet, sweet sleep. And I hope that many of you are experiencing the same. So Mrs. B, hi everyone, haven't seen you here before. Welcome. Sarah, how are you doing? Universal, good to see you. Emma, good to see you. AJ, hello. Palladians Tarot, hello, welcome. Warrior Princess, how are you doing? Good to see you. We're going to get you back on here. Just be patient. I know the same thing with Trish G. Patience is a virtue. Find it if you can. Seldom in a woman, never in a man. But we know that's not true. But we love axioms, don't we? Yeah. So we're going to be talking about interdimensional entities. And as the sign says, they're talking. Are you listening? In fact, in my studies of these many decades, one of my favorite philosophers of the first century is Philo. Interesting dude. It really is. You read, there are other works, but I don't know. I really connected with Philo. He's a big problem for modern Christianity, number one. For he was in Jerusalem at that period of time that there was the supposedly event going on, and Philo didn't write anything about it, But Philo, any of you who collect books and look for diversification in your knowledge base, this is on creation of the cosmos and his works according to Moses. Good book. Anyway, it was, hello, Sharon. How are you doing? Billy Boy, good to see you. Patrick, hello. So one of the things that when I started studying Philo was he wrote, and it just resonated with me. In fact, I think I may even have it still marked. I remember a number of years ago, I was going in for knee surgery, and used to be a runner, ran all the time. Anyway, while waiting to go under, I'm reading Philo, I mean, what better place to put your mind? You're going to be out, so let the good thoughts carry forward. And anyway, Philo wrote, he said that God is a creating being. He creates, never stops. And he's also very frugal. He's not wasteful. And Philo said that there's not a space around us that's not filled with life. And that always intrigued me. It caused me a whole lot of good thoughts to go forward with and saying, okay, let's start putting this into context of what I've known. And in my life journey, well, I have known about these entities. Now, we're going to learn. I have a PowerPoint I'm going to bring up because that's what I do. It's how we learn. That they're here. In fact, our knowledge of this plane of existence is still evolving, still discovering, still uncovering. And as it should be, it's finite in its conception, but it's infinite within its boundaries. Ooh, Steiger, that's profound, dude. That's worth the price of admission right there. But it's true. I mean, we're all spirit beings, but I can assure you, folks, as you well know, your spirit has no boundary. And if it does, it's because you've limited it. It's just the way it is. So in the last couple of days, I've had 5 emails come into me about people wanting to know how to invoke spirits. And makes sense. I mean, one of the things you find out about the 7 principles is that the 7 different planes within the plane, and the 8th plane, maybe there's a 9th, I don't know. But each plane is exponentially different than the one that we are in. In fact, I contend, ladies and gentlemen, that most of us have a very finite view of this physical plane. For the most part, it never gets outside of here. In Laska's book, Biocentrism, he contends that space, atoms, photons, merely exist because the observer observes them as being so, with the thought being this: wherever you're sitting, hello, Deborah Tucker, how are you doing? That, let's say you live in a subdivision and you have houses across the street, you have houses beside you, and most likely you may have houses behind you. So Lanza contends that the only time anything exists is when the observer observes it. That goes with time, space, everything. And that in reality, because you can't see those houses, they don't exist. They only exist when you, as the observer, look at them. And there have been experiments done on that. particles to waves. We know that the power of thought can actually impact photons. It's been done in experiments time and time again. So, when we get to this point, I think of invoking spirits, entities. It's good that we have an understanding of what we're doing. Yes, Deborah, you are correct. Exactly what are we dealing with here? In my lifetime, again, my initiation, as I've been reflecting, making my list, and as the older you get, you have a little bit more reflecting to do introspectively. And you begin to look at all your life experiences. Each of us have our own uniquenesses. Each of us have our own unique experiences. I hear a lot of people say, well, my life is pretty dull. No, no. Your life is just that. It's your life. You're only a prisoner to that which the room that you create. As I've told you before in many of my videos, the checkmate video was a very disturbing one for a lot of people, because as I concluded in that video, the vast majority of the population are in prisons, self-made prisons that have no doors on them, but they're better than the most max secure place that any prison could be. And this program is going to get more into it. So for myself, as I look at this, because if you take the birthright, which I did that video, I don't know, 7, 8 months ago, and methodically laid out, unbeknownst to what was being instructed to me, that to be in this temporal plane and to be of consciousness, it is, in fact, hey, Kaz, how are you doing? Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. That you have to understand that there is a plane that we exist. And I contend, as the checkmate video showed, that the prisons that we put ourselves in may be the ultimate form of mind control. And I don't think any man, any human is smart enough to do that. I think it takes a super intelligence. Well, hello, Roman. Roman D, thank you. Well, thank you, sir. Well, namaste to you, my friend. Thank you. That we are very unique, and that life exists in diversities that we don't even understand. In that video, Checkmate, I was determined to find how we can free as many minds as possible. So to invoke a spirit, you have to know the spirit. You don't want to go in over your head. For some reason, I have a scene of Tombstone, Jeff Doherty, and I mean, here we go, going with the scene at the shootout at the OK Corral. You want to make sure you're going to walk away if you encounter such things, and you very possibly could. So I'm straightforward with you folks. I don't hide anything. And in my early youth, particularly between the ages of 15, 16, and 17, I did a lot of experimentation with hallucinogenics. LSD, mescaline, peyote. And as I look back, spirits don't bother me. They don't frighten me. I encountered them in an altered dimension. um, as Timothy Leary used to say, he can take us on a trip. We never have to leave the couch, but we'll go out into the cosmos. And, I don't recommend it for people because many people can't handle it. I used to do counseling at a house that was in the Montrose area there in Houston, Texas in 1971 that was set up strictly for helping people coping that were on bad trips. And I never had a bad trip. Almost died, but never had a bad trip, met many, many, many spirits. Many spirits. But the thing that I would do is I would volunteer time and help get people talked down. And you learn a lot. I mean, I was a young grasshopper. I was immersed in that world. And I would see adults. Remember, I'm just 16. And I'm seeing people that are in their mid-20s that, are experimenting with LSD, hallucinogenics. And some of their fragile minds, hello, Raven Wolf, how are you doing? Friday night, folks, couldn't handle it. And they met their demons. And their demons kicked their butts. And the thing about it, once you're on that drug, you ain't getting off. Not unless they hit you up with Thorazine. And so you talk to a lot of people. And the thing that always amazed me was what people were most afraid of, what they were encountering. And the LSD and the hallucinogenics amplify those images and bring them into a world of this world. So again, what are you experiencing? You begin to get in an altered state of consciousness, and you're going to find out that it's just as crowded there as it is here. It's everywhere. So let's get into this presentation that I put together so we can all have a little bit while you're in the chat room and talk. So we got the copyright disclaimer. I'll leave it up there for the required 5 seconds. Under the Fair Use Act. Thank you. We move on. All right. So some basic, this is according to Wayne Steiger, some basic foundations you need to know and understand. There are more living spirits, souls, and other life forms existing next to you now than you can count. It's just a fact. Many of these entities exist on and in multiple dimensions and can actually be living in each of these planes at the same time. Now, Hermes teaches us that as well. In the law of correspondence, it's very clearly stated, as well as it's in Franz's book, The Initiation into Hermetics. You must understand that even you, in this temporal form, this plane, you can take your mind and you can traverse the different planes. Now, most likely, you're going to be exploring this one. At least that's what I have seen. There is a plane that's higher, but the entities that I encountered they didn't let me go by. I was allowed to continue where I was at, but there was a clear line of delineation there. Some of these entities exist outside time and space. They have. as we continue our training as gods, I have no doubt that in the next plane, we're going to have the opportunity to develop these abilities. I think some can master it here now, but the material plane, as we know, does present obstacles, opportunities, challenges that, well, some are almost unsurmountable, but we know that that can be done. Boy, this is good. All right. All entities have names. Everything has to have a name. If you have no name, then you're no one. Wasn't that one of Hercules' challenges? Anyway, many come from the plant and animal realms. I know it seems a little hard for you, many people, to handle. In the last day, I think that been about 30 people that just left. They couldn't handle this. I've had a couple of doozy of emails, and I understand. One person wrote, I am at a place of complete turmoil, I think is what the term was. And I thought to myself, well, that's odd. And then I got thinking, well, no, this, if you don't have a sense of equilibrium, this stuff can like flat put you into a tailspin. All right, let's continue. Most cannot transcend into the material realm. However, they can and do influence events in this material reality. It's a fact. There is a hierarchy of entities on this planet that rule over gold. Yeah. Actual gods, by all definition, been assigned as gods. Some are not aware of you, just as you are not aware of them. In fact, as I was instructed, they're oblivious to us. We mean nothing to them. They merely intersect into our reality realm just because of the material substance, this ether, whatever you want to call it, the quintessence, whatever it may be. Apparently, it transcends planes. And who knows, maybe they're back here to catch up on something. And because we're at such a low vibration, they're not going to pay attention to us. It's the same for us. We can't perceive beings at a lower vibration. We can't even perceive many of them at a higher. But however, many of us who are in fact gods in training, we can. It's one of our abilities. Others know you very well. There is nothing, darling, they don't know about you. Nothing. In those moments when you think you're by yourself, I think there was a song back in the 50s that the hills have 1,000 eyes. Well, there's more truth than that than one can imagine. In fact, the number that watch you all the time most likely is in the millions, if not more. Doesn't that give you the warm and fuzzies? It's true. There are those who can only manifest to a human mind. They take images from you. You see, for they have none of their own. They exist without form. And the interesting thing about human beings is that we have this gift of creation. You developed this gift, most of you did, when you were children. We had our imaginary friends. We could go out playing in imagination that was created of the mind. That was training. Unfortunately, the generations of today are losing that ability, which shows clear indication that we're degressing, not progressing. And the reason why it was so important for us as children to develop these imaginary friends that in many cases were not imaginary. They were as real could be, was because you were learning how to give thought to manifesting entities that otherwise have no form. So if it wasn't for you giving them form by forming an image, they would not exist at all or have the ability to manifest. You have to understand as well is that there is order and structure with these entities. There is a hierarchy that is in place. In fact, as you study this more and more, you begin to see and understand the diversities of hierarchies. There are hierarchies, and then there are hierarchies above the hierarchies, all structure and form. Everything in the material realm is ruled over by multiple entities, spirits, or other. There is a classification of other. Now, some of it is speculated as to what that other is. There apparently are entities that are created out of the creating process of other entities that are neither spirit, soul, mind, reason. It's hard for us to fathom of what this other is, but it exists. And when you begin to understand, that's why learning the elements are so important. And you know, one of the things that I observed in my time in the Satan religion, actually participating in satanic worships. Yeah, I did that. Did it when I was 17. Was that unlike Christianity, unlike Islam, unlike the Hindu religion and the others that I have studied, I found that the Druids, other pagan, quote unquote, religions have a lot in common with, satanic worship. And the thing about Satan worship is that there is a great deal of attention put to the elements. Just a comparison. Now, how many subscribers am I going to lose on that one, huh? Now, many will work with human spirits. They're eager to work with you, not so much for you, but there are those who will work for you. And there are many who will not. As again, I think that there's a great audience that are picking up some of the pieces here that do not have to go through the birthright again to get the last little bit that they needed to get their degrees. Many simply do not care or in a least bit interested in the affairs of mortal souls. They just don't care. They can tolerate you. They don't have an opinion one way or the other. And they're very much aware of you. And even some of these classes rule over things in this realm. Many will align themselves with the gods or God mankind creates. Think about that one. You can do it individually. Think about what happens when you get someone who becomes a master magician and starts a religion. All religions have a beginning. That's the problem. As I've contended, how can you say your religion is right and everyone else is wrong? That's the epitome of bigotry. And we don't want to be bigots. Entities can die a so-called second death. However, this has never been proven to be fact other than dogma, but there is a vein of that thought that is evident in other belief systems. And there are religions that feed upon that by giving you, saying, well, you may escape the first one, Jacko, but you ain't going to escape the second one. Again. Now, taken in that same line, the Bible states that there are over 100 trillion angels. Think about that. Again, Philo states there is no number known to man. And not all are good, nor are all evil. There are many who are neither. Think about that. Many are of a lower class and can be invoked and commanded over by humans. This has been demonstrated time and time and time again. There are those of higher classes that can be invoked and will bend to the desire of those who call them, but they demand something in return, and for the most part have no feelings for humans one way or the other. In fact, I found that there is, what I have been told and what I have seen, an indifference. And when you think about it, how many of you have been in relationships where the other person was just completely indifferent? You know what I'm talking about. Now, here's where we have to start. And this again is, as I continue to develop and add to my essence, there are those mortal souls that are immortal gods. And there are legions of entities / servants that have been sent to minister to the needs of these spirit beings in human bodies. Most stand idle because their masters never become aware of them. And this is what I really wanted to bring home to the point on this show today. The thing about the teachings of Hermes, the thing about the 7 principles, if you are truly an initiate, you will discover if you're one of these immortal gods. I contend the vast majority of you are. I'll read that again. And this was given to me specifically for this. There are those mortal souls that are immortal gods, and there are legions of entities, servants, that have been sent to minister to the needs of these spirit beings in human bodies. Most stand idle because their masters never become aware of them. Now, I have shared with you, I've read your letters. So many of you have written me. Some of them are many books, but I do read them. I don't respond to all of them. I can't. But I do read. And I can look back in my life and I know where these servants, now you can call them angels, you can call them demons. I call them entities. They're energy, many different classes, but they have protected me. I've never had an evil spirit harm me physically or mentally. I know that these spirit beings have been around me. I know they have protected me from death. I know they have protected me from harm. They have brought me food. They have brought me substances. They have brought me money. They've brought me health. They minister to me. And I dare say, ladies and gentlemen, to those who are listening, they've been there ministering to you as well. The problem for most of us is that we've been blinded to this. And many, many different religions state as much. There is a class that are against humans, and they have been waging a war against mankind, and they are deceitful. They are high master magicians, and their kind have been successful in keeping mankind satisfied. Do you hear me? You see, this is a war that I'm convinced mankind has not been fighting, doesn't want to fight. The vast majority of the public, the masses of humanity, they're not fighting. They don't want to fight. They're satisfied, even with the little scraps they've been given. And the spirit of mankind are in covenant with these beings. And in the epochs that this has been going on, from time to time, fragments of thought called rebels awake and break away. I contend we are in just such a time, an epoch. Now, I know people may have a different opinion on this. That's fine. That's cool. But I contend that mankind is not waging a war of any kind. Otherwise, why would you have 1.8 billion people following a religion, 1.7 billion following another? And you could just go on and on. There's no war going on. What you have are fat, satiated souls. And they just get enough of what they need, and they continue to go on. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you're not one of those. You're one of these fragments, of these rebels. Welcome to the world of the real. Now, some entities are responsible for creating most of the world religions today. I contend to you, ladies and gentlemen, it's my thesis that you cannot have as many religions and stand on the audacity of saying that one religion or God is greater than the other. I contend that these are nothing more than entities who have assumed positions of hierarchy and power that are not gods. No, what they have done is that they have taken the divine, the divus, the God-man of creation, and tricked them to be worshiping them. There is no Christian God. There is no Jewish God. There's no Islam God. if they exist, and they do in the hearts and minds of many, these are entities, nothing more. And what they have done, and very successful, they have taken the God-man of creation and convinced us to worship them. Written books on it. This is why this knowledge is so dangerous. This is why it's been suppressed. I continue, if you're hearing me, you are one of the divine. You are a God man. You could say God person. Gender doesn't matter. And that for many of us, we have worshiped nothing more than entities. To invoke is to enter into a covenant. There are benefits, yes, but penalties that are severe. Nothing is free. Nothing. So, there we go. Allow me to get out of here. Think about what I just showed you. The moment that this becomes as real to you as you are, things change drastically. And with all these entities, call them spirits, call them angels, whatever you want, they are here to serve you. It's not necessary for you to call specific other spirits out. Now, we're going to take a look at them. All you need to do is to invoke those that are here to serve you already. They'll go out and fight the war. If there's a battle to be fought, they'll fight it. They're more equipped to it. They're here to ensure you graduate. You think what humanity would be like if this was the prevailing mindset of the collective consciousness of man. And it's sometimes hard. You go through every day invoking many of these things. And let me give you an example why you have to begin to start changing your attitude. You use the expression, God damn. Whatever you just invoked, you are the God, and you just damned it. How many of you God damned your kids? God damned your car? God damned your bills? God damned your wife? I could go on and on and on. And you just instructed those entities to ensure those things that you just damned be damned. Every time you say, well, this is a pile of shit, this car is a bunch of shit, guess what? You just put it into action. There could be hundreds of thousands of so-called angels, entities, ensuring that your car remains a piece of shit. When are you going to grow up? Stop relying on your religion. Stop relying on others and start relying on yourself. An initiation is never easy. It's going to pull you. It's going to strain you. It's going to piss you off. It's going to make you happy. It's going to make you sad. It's going to make you glad. But everyone who's ever gone through basic training knows at the end, and basic training can be anything. Training for a marathon, training for a step, it doesn't matter. So think about it. Because here's the danger. When you invoke high-ranking spirits, entities, and you're still dealing with that kind of talk to yourself, cupcake, they're going to eat you alive. And not because of them, because of you. The expression is, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Franz Brandon's book, his book is about making wishes come true. The great thing about hermetics is that you can go through life with your wishes coming true. And here's the reality, sweetheart. They're already coming true. Look at your life right now. You are where you are at because of the words you spoke a year ago. And don't tell me that ain't the case. And when you begin to invoke higher ranking spirits, they're not higher than you. You're a God man. They know that. And most of the time that I have seen, they merely follow what's coming out of your mouth. Some of them can, in fact, read your mind. That's why you have to develop telepathy. That's why you have to develop the singleness of thought, capturing that thought to all others. You have to have a disciplined mind. Our good friend Sue G can tell you, and others, the spirits that are around you are attracted by most of the time of what you are putting out. And then you've got all these ranks behind, legions behind you, sitting there going, when is he or she going to wake up? I mean, they're eager to get on the scene. Now, we can look at I pulled up some books here. We're going to get back into our normal reading, but for instance, this is a book, as you can see, it's a dictionary in ancient magic words and spells. And it's so interesting when you get into some of these books that you begin to find out very quickly you have to be the master, the captain of your pilot house. You're on a sea of the unknown. And once you let someone get into your wheelhouse, it can be a battle getting them out. Whoever seeks to grasp this book shall learn from it. Shall learn from it fine reasons. Yeah, it's true. And several things he may hear from it are good to keep in mind. You who wish to read this book, keep it secret the best you can, and only divulge it to the ones who merits, who is worthy and well prepared for this art. Now, you see, these go back, way back, folks, way back. May he who wishes to know the secrets know to keep them secret and not give bread to dogs or pearls to swine. You see, as we become practicing Hermetitus, that's where we're going. We're going to all reach the same place. Listen, I had one letter. I won't even go there. So these are names, sigils that you can begin to see. I have no idea how to properly pronounce Abed Yeha'at. To cause a girl to pursue you, you should write these letters on her clothing. That'll get you arrested today. And but anyway, it's interesting. AAGG inscribed on wax in the shape of a cross. These letters allow a prisoner to free himself from his bonds. This seal should also be carried when one wishes to be invisible. There you go. And there's where the actual spell comes from, folks. I love this book. I can't give it to you folks that I don't have it in a PDF form, but we can certainly share. So I've got the knowledge. I mean, I read this stuff, honey. When you look at my library in the occult, I've got over 319 PDFs in my library. And all of those, as Jeff Doherty said today, I think is very appropriate. You need to put this stuff on drives that are not connected to anything else. And that's where I have multiple, by the way. Abba. This term appears in the spell Aba, Elu, Abroi, Agara, Procha, and so on, which the person should speak when wishing to win at cards or another game. All right, there you go. Or should carry it on his person, written on virgin parchment. Here's another one. Define love. You should write these letters on your hand. Yes, I'm telling you, folks, it goes on for pages and pages, 500 pages, I think. So, yeah, I thought I'd just share that with you. Is that some cool stuff? Now, I got something else that I do have in PDFs. This one, for instance, is the Dictionary of the Gods. It really shows you how all religions, folks, all religion, where they start. And remember, every religion has a starting point. Then you got to go, well, what was before that? Someone asked me about, how can you explain, your belief that there never was a Jesus? And I said, well, who was Jesus's papa? And if you take that, was God a Christian? Was he formerly a Jew? And was he formerly a Hebrew? Is it God, the former star? I mean, was he then Sumerian? I mean, I feel like Arlo Guthrie. I'm sitting on the Group W bench with these father rapers. Go listen to Aunt Alice's Restaurant. Y'all know where I'll be talking about. Anyway, so you can follow all the religions, folks. There they are, all in their nice little category. And this is really a very cool book. Again, this one goes through you can see it's 418 pages. Every known God, angel, entity that's out there. Gives you their background, gives you their genus, how that they came about, who their mama, who their daddy is, who their brother, their cousin, who they knew back on the other side of the burrow. You know what I'm saying? They'll tell you that, my distant cousin over there in Mesopotamia. But yeah, they're all here. And it's quite an interesting, many of the names I can't spell. I mean, many of them I've seen, though. And many of them take on many different forms. It's like the goddess of freedom. That's Diana. That's Aphrodite's. That's Isis. That is Enema, who sits upon our dome. So anyway, a lot of great books here that you can really get into. There's one I wanted to get into about the forgotten ones. This is so cool because I think, as I told Jeff, there are those who are waiting. Our ancestors used to call on them. We don't call on them anymore. I think some do. So rumor has it that the forgotten ones, the faceless ones, a la the Titans, breached human consciousness in the 20th century. Various reasons could get given for this, which would include the splitting of the atom, the development of nuclear science, our own evolutionary development, or even the peculiarities of a double ionic current that some practitioners of magic might consider in operation. Something's happened, folks. And it goes on well. This is a interesting read. It's a short one, but nevertheless, it is a very cool read. So there we go. We're going to get more into this, and it's all tied to hermetics. In fact, as many of you are finding, I know, again, overwhelming response, overwhelming emails. People's lives have changed. I actually think there's a number of people who are doing happy dances in their houses or their apartments. I know of one couple that actually did it. They wrote they never been more freer in all their lives. And they're older than I am. So there we go. And we're going to get into this. I mean, again, let me encourage those who are really struggling. Understand you are so precious. And there are legions of spirits, angels, if you want to call them that, that's cool, that are here to serve you. My question for most of you are, how many do you put in charge? Let me just share something that my wife and I do. I lay my hands on our vehicles and I command the angels, I call them angels, to stand guard over our vehicles. When I get on a plane, I lay my hands on that plane and I command my angels to stand guard over that plane, to keep that plane up if necessary. When I get into a cab, I do the same thing. I go into a building, an elevator. How many of you? How many of you have gone into a store and put your angels to work and said, lead me to the best deals? I could go on with the list. You have not because you ask not, and you ask because you ask wrongly. Yeah, that's a direct quote from the book of James, but it's still, the principle applies. Put your angels, put your whatever you want to call them. Fred, Lucy, Murray, I don't care. They don't care. They'll tell you their names. But right now, just the fact that you can visualize them is what changes things. And that begins. And you put that invocation for favor into action. And now that you know this, and you start, when you look at the 4 cardinal points and you speak to the elements, you start speaking to those spirits that are here to serve you, to comply with this. You're just adding to your arsenal. It's becoming a magician of your life. You can't be a god and control worlds when you haven't even learned to control that which has been given to you. You'd be a terrible God. And they will say the same thing. Whew. All right. So let's just end this with a favor invocation. I just speak favor over to everyone listening to my voice and to those entities, those energies that have been waiting to be heard. We speak to you with favor and we give you acknowledgement and we speak favor over you to do that which you have been sent. And I speak favor over everyone's minds, that clarity of thought and intent will shine bright as the noonday sun. All right, folks. Good day to you. Thank you for everyone who's listening. Thank you to all the moderators. It's been far out. It is. I mean, I get myself so happy sometimes after these shows that, yeah, Dancer's going, oh, that was high energy. And Dancer can feel it. I mean, she feels the energy. All right, folks, I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, and we'll continue to learn. We may get even more. Just let me know if you want to know more about these entities. We can take a little deviation off of our readings, but let me know. This is powerful stuff. Powerful. You know, love is the drug I'm looking for. Little Roxy music there for those of you who know. Anyway, as my wife says, she says, honey, when you pass over, she says, you're taking your own jukebox with you. I said, yeah, I am. So thank you, Jamma. I'll receive that thousandfold right back at me. Absolutely. And I'll magnify it right back at you, baby. Yeah, that's how you do it, man. You start amping this thing up, and I mean, the molecules and the atoms start getting moving. And boy, the more you're adding to it, they get charged and they're going in that polarity version and they're swinging that pendulum. And boy, the next thing you know, you got cause and effect work and you got rhythm, vibration. What else do you need? So anyway, be good to yourself, folks. Love yourself. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for all that you give to me. And yeah, you've made the journey even much more richer. So thank you, folks. Appreciate you. We will see you tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.